Welcome to Sleep Easy, where we invite you to unwind and let go of the day's busyness. I'm grateful you've chosen to spend this quiet moment with us. Tonight's story is called The Celestial Voyage, a journey beyond dreams. In this tale, we follow Elias Carter, a humble astronomer who spends his nights gazing at the stars. One evening, while studying an ancient celestial map, he discovers a mysterious, shimmering star, a star that isn't recorded anywhere. This moment marks the beginning of an extraordinary journey as a whisper in the night calls him to follow the light and embark on a path that transcends the boundaries of dreams and reality. Elias is pulled into a realm beyond Earth, where magic flows through the cosmos, and the celestial heart, the very core of the universe, begins to fracture. Guided by celestial beings and accompanied by newfound friends, Elias must navigate mystical realms and face trials that test his heart, his courage, and his belief. With every step, he learns that dreams are not just fleeting visions, but the very force that binds the universe together. Now, as you settle into your bed, take a slow, deep breath. Let the weight of your body relax into the surface beneath you. With each breath, feel your muscles soften and your mind quiet, ready to drift into a peaceful, restful sleep. Let the story of Elias's journey beyond dreams guide you into a night of tranquility, where the stars above are always watching over you. Beneath a vast expanse of starlit sky, Elias Carter sat atop the weathered wooden rooftop of his small observatory in Evermere. The town, nestled between rolling hills and quiet lakes, was a place where time seemed to move slower, where the world beyond the stars felt close enough to touch. Tonight was no different. The crisp night air carried the faint scent of pine, and the soft rustling of leaves whispered through the silence. Elias adjusted his brass-rimmed telescope, its polished surface reflecting the celestial display above. His fingers, calloused from years of sketching star maps and transcribing celestial patterns, traced the contours of an ancient map laid before him, a map his grandfather had once treasured. The map was unlike any other. The constellations it depicted were both familiar and unfamiliar, as if drawn from a forgotten time. Elias had spent countless nights trying to decipher its secrets, but the more he studied it, the more it seemed to shift beneath his gaze, as if the stars themselves were alive. Tonight, however, something was different. As he gazed through the telescope, his heart skipped a beat. There, amidst the familiar constellations, was a star that had never been there before. It pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow, unlike anything he had seen. He blinked, adjusting the focus. No records, no maps, nothing documented this celestial body. It was as if the universe had placed it there just for him to find. A chill ran down his spine, but not from the cold. There was something about this star, something inexplicably familiar, as if it had been waiting for him to notice it. Then, in the stillness of the night, a voice, gentle as the wind yet resonant as the stars, whispered in his mind. "Follow the light, and you shall find the path beyond dreams." Elias gasped, nearly dropping his telescope. He spun around, expecting someone to be standing behind him, but there was no one. Just the endless sky above and the quiet town below. His breath quickened. Had he imagined it? Was it exhaustion playing tricks on him? He pressed a hand against his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. Then, as if responding to his thoughts, the mysterious star brightened, illuminating the map spread before him. The ink shimmered, shifting like ripples across water, revealing new pathways and celestial patterns that had never been there before. The wind picked up, swirling around him, rustling the pages of his notebooks and tugging at his coat. He clutched the map as a radiant glow blossomed in the sky, forming a swirling portal of silver and blue. It pulsed with an otherworldly energy, casting shifting reflections across the observatory's rooftop. Elias's pulse thundered in his ears. Every rational part of his mind screamed at him to step back, to run, but something deeper, something instinctual, told him otherwise. This was it. The moment he had been unknowingly waiting for all his life. Taking a final, steadying breath, Elias reached forward. The instant his fingertips brushed the glowing portal, the world around him dissolved into light. And then, he was falling beyond the stars, beyond the world he had always known. Elias awoke with a start, his breath shallow and rapid as his eyes fluttered open. The world around him was unfamiliar, yet there was an overwhelming sense of peace that washed over him, calming his racing heart. For a moment, he thought he had fallen asleep at his desk and that the strange events of the night had been nothing more than a vivid dream. But as his senses returned, he realized the truth. He was no longer in his observatory, no longer among the familiar hills of Evermere. He sat up slowly, his hands trembling as he surveyed his surroundings. The air was heavy with the scent of something sweet and ethereal, not unlike the first breath of spring after a long winter. He was surrounded by a vast, endless sky, dusk-colored and infinite, with stars so close they seemed almost within reach. The ground beneath him was soft, yet firm, like the surface of a cloud. His gaze lifted, and he saw islands floating in the sky, their edges glowing faintly in the twilight, suspended in the air as if defying gravity itself. Elias. The voice came again, gentle, yet commanding, and it was then that he noticed the figure standing before him. A woman, though not entirely human. Her form shimmered like stardust, and her eyes were deep pools of silver that reflected the very cosmos above them. She radiated a light that did not burn, but instead warmed him from within. "You have crossed into the celestial realm," she said, her voice echoing like the music of distant constellations. "I am Nova, a guide to those who are chosen to restore the balance of the universe." Elias's mind raced, still struggling to comprehend the enormity of what had just happened. The voice, the portal, the star, had it all been real? Was he truly in the realm of the stars? His words stumbled out in disbelief. Restore balance? I don't understand. I'm just an astronomer. I don't belong here. Nova smiled softly, as if she had expected his confusion. You are here because you are meant to be, Elias. The stars have chosen you. The celestial core, the heart of the universe, is fracturing, and without its restoration, both dreams and reality will fall into shadow. Only those with a heart that dares to dream can mend what has been broken. Elias stood up slowly, his mind spinning. He had always felt that his life was meant for something greater, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. But why me? I don't have any power, no special abilities. I'm just a man who looks at the stars. Nova's gaze softened as she extended a hand toward him, guiding his eyes to the sky. The power is not in what you can see with your eyes, but what you can feel with your heart. You are not here by chance, Elias. Your grandfather, too, walked this path, long before you. He tried to restore the celestial core, but he failed. You, however, possess what he lacked, belief. Elias's breath caught in his throat. His grandfather? The man who had taught him everything about the stars, who had handed down the ancient map that lay in his observatory. Had his grandfather known about this realm? Had he failed to restore the balance, and now it was Elias's turn to finish the quest? Nova gestured to the space around them, where faint, glowing lines formed constellations of unknown origins, intertwining in patterns that defied logic. The path you must follow is hidden, Elias. It is not a map that can be read with eyes alone. It is a map of the heart, one that reveals itself only to those who dare to seek its truths. As she spoke, a small, glowing orb appeared in her hand. She held it out to Elias, who hesitated before reaching out to take it. The orb felt warm against his skin, almost alive with energy. This, Nova explained, is the hidden map. It will guide you on your journey, but you must learn to trust it, to listen to it as you would a whisper in the night. The map does not show where you are, but where you must go. And the way will not always be clear. Elias turned the orb in his hands, watching as the light within it shifted, swirling into intricate patterns and symbols. His fingers tingled, as if the map was calling to him, urging him to follow. You are not alone, Elias, Nova continued, her voice soothing. Many have walked this path before you, and many more will follow. But you are the one who can restore the balance. You are the one who will reach the heart of the celestial core. A surge of determination rose within Elias, a spark of courage he had never known. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in his life, he felt certain of his purpose. He had been given a gift, a task far greater than anything he could have imagined. I will follow, he said, his voice steady though his heart raced. I will find the way, and I will restore the balance. Nova nodded, her eyes gleaming with pride. Then your journey begins now, Elias. The hidden map will show you the first step. Follow the light, and let your heart guide you. As Elias stared at the orb, the first shimmering line of the map began to glow, pointing toward the distant horizon, toward the floating isles, where the journey would truly begin. The floating islands in the distance seemed to hum with an ancient energy as Elias followed the glowing map in his hands. Each step he took was light, as if the very ground beneath his feet was a reflection of the cosmos above, soft and fleeting, like the brief touch of a star. Nova walked beside him, her presence as constant and serene as the night sky itself. The air was thick with the weight of silence, and yet, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that something was drawing closer, something beyond their immediate surroundings. He glanced at the orb in his hand again, the map's swirling patterns growing clearer with each step. It was leading him, guiding him toward the unknown, but there was a sense of inevitability to the path it revealed, as though his destiny had already been written in the stars long before his birth. "This path you walk is not just yours, Elias," Nova said softly, as though reading his thoughts. "The stars have a way of weaving destinies together, of bringing those who need each other to cross paths. Your journey was foretold long ago." Elias turned to her, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Foretold? By who?" Nova smiled cryptically, her gaze lingering on the horizon. "By the stargazer, the one who watches over the heavens and whispers their secrets to those who are ready to listen. The prophecy speaks of a traveler, one with the heart of a dreamer, a seeker of the stars, who will restore the celestial core." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine at the mention of the prophecy. A part of him had always believed that the stars were more than just distant lights in the sky, but to hear that his journey had been foretold, that he was part of something greater than himself, filled him with both awe and trepidation. "Where is this stargazer? What else does the prophecy say?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and uncertainty. Nova turned her gaze toward the glowing path ahead. "The stargazer resides in the Temple of Stars, hidden within the heart of the floating isles. The temple is said to hold the knowledge of the universe, and it is there that the prophecy was first written. But be warned, Elias. The journey is fraught with challenges, and the stargazer is not easily found. You will have to prove your worth before the prophecy is fully revealed to you." As they walked, the soft hum of energy in the air grew louder, and Elias could see the outlines of towering spires and crystalline structures floating in the distance. The floating isles were closer now, their luminous beauty more breathtaking with each passing moment. He could feel the weight of the prophecy on his shoulders, its implications pressing into his chest like a deep breath held too long. Before he could voice his thoughts, the ground beneath them shimmered, and the sky above rippled with colors Elias had never seen. A doorway materialized, its edges glowing with the soft light of 1,000 stars. It was the entrance to the Temple of Stars. Nova stopped, her figure turning to face him. "The time has come, Elias. Beyond this door lies the stargazer, and the secrets you seek. But remember, the prophecy is not just about restoring the celestial core. It is also about understanding the balance between dreams and reality, between the light of the stars and the darkness that threatens to consume them." Elias nodded, his hand tightening around the orb as he stepped toward the door. He could feel the energy pulsing from it, inviting him to cross the threshold and continue his journey. But the weight of the prophecy, of the destiny that lay ahead, was a heavy burden to bear. With a deep breath, he crossed into the temple. The air inside was cool and filled with the sound of soft whispers, like 1,000 voices murmuring in unison. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings of constellations, each one telling a story of ancient stars and forgotten realms. As Elias moved deeper into the temple, the light from the orb in his hand cast shadows on the walls, revealing hidden symbols and markings that seemed to come alive in the dim glow. At the heart of the temple stood an altar, where a figure sat in quiet contemplation. The figure was cloaked in silver robes that shimmered like the night sky, their face obscured by a hood. They seemed to radiate a quiet wisdom, a sense of timelessness that filled the space around them. The Stargazer. Elias approached the altar cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. Nova stood silently at his side, her gaze fixed on the figure before them. The Stargazers slowly raised their head, revealing eyes that shone with the light of countless stars. They regarded Elias with a knowing gaze, as though they had been expecting him all along. "Welcome, Elias Carter." The Stargazer's voice was soft, but it resonated within Elias's very soul. "I have been waiting for you." Elias's voice trembled as he spoke. "You know my name?" The Stargazer nodded. "The stars know all who listen to their whispers. And you, Elias, have been chosen to fulfill the prophecy." The Stargazer rose from the altar, moving with an eerie grace, as though they were part of the very cosmos itself. They extended their hand to Elias, who hesitated for only a moment before accepting it. "You seek to restore the celestial core," the Stargazer said, their eyes glowing brighter as they spoke. "But the path ahead is fraught with trials that will test your courage, your heart, and your very soul. You must prove yourself worthy, for only then will the truth of the prophecy be revealed." As the Stargazer spoke, the room around them began to shift, the walls swirling with stardust and cosmic energy. The air thickened with the weight of the universe, and Elias could feel the power of the prophecy building, filling the temple with a palpable tension. "To succeed," the Stargazer continued, "you must first understand the balance of light and shadow, of dreams and reality. Only when you embrace both can you restore what has been broken." Elias's mind swirled with questions, but he knew one thing for certain: his journey had only just begun. And the prophecy, like the stars themselves, was vast and unfathomable, with secrets waiting to be unlocked. He nodded, his resolve strengthening. "I am ready." The Stargazer smiled, their eyes gleaming with the wisdom of the ages. "Then let the trials begin." The air around Elias crackled with energy as the Stargazer's words hung in the temple, the weight of their meaning sinking into his bones. The glowing eyes of the Stargazer seemed to pierce through him, seeing into his very soul. There was no going back now. The trials were about to begin, and the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. The stargazer stepped back, raising their hands toward the swirling energy in the center of the temple. A soft hum echoed throughout the chamber, reverberating through the very fabric of space itself. The walls of the temple shimmered and began to twist, as if the boundaries between worlds were thinning. Elias could feel a strange pull, a magnetic force, calling him toward the center of the room. It was the portal, an ethereal gateway that would take him beyond the temple, beyond the stars, and into the heart of the cosmic mystery he was destined to unravel. Through this portal lies the beginning of your trials, the stargazer intoned, their voice calm but resolute. To find the celestial core, you must pass through worlds unknown, realms that defy the very laws of reality. You will face your deepest fears, your greatest doubts, and the truth of who you are. But only by embracing what lies beyond can you succeed. Elias's heart raced. He had spent his life studying the stars, but nothing could have prepared him for the magnitude of what lay before him. The portal shimmered like liquid starlight, its edges swirling with vibrant colors, blues, purples, and silver streaks of light that seemed to pulse with life. It beckoned him, calling him to step forward, to trust in what he could not yet comprehend. He glanced at Nova, whose eyes were filled with a serene understanding. She had always known this moment was coming. She had always known his path. But Elias wasn't sure he was ready. He had no idea what awaited him on the other side. "Don't be afraid, Elias," Nova said softly, her voice carrying a quiet strength. "The stars have guided you this far, and they will continue to guide you. Trust in yourself." Taking a deep breath, Elias nodded. He had no choice but to trust in the journey, to believe that this was his purpose, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. He stepped forward, his feet moving as if drawn by an invisible force. The world around him blurred as he crossed the threshold, and in an instant, everything he knew faded away. The moment Elias passed through the portal, the world around him shifted in a breathtaking display of color and motion. It was as if the very fabric of the universe had unfurled before him, revealing a vast expanse of stars, nebulas, and strange celestial formations. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the sky stretched on endlessly, as if the universe itself was unfolding in real time. Elias found himself standing on a plain of floating rock, the ground beneath his feet solid yet suspended in midair. The air was warm, filled with the scent of something floral and fresh, something entirely foreign to him. Far below, swirling currents of light moved like rivers of energy, their paths crossing and intertwining in intricate patterns. Nova was beside him, her form glowing softly in the dim light of the strange new world. "This is the river of time," she explained, her voice echoing softly in the vastness around them. "It is where past and future meet, where the flow of moments intertwines and shapes reality itself. The river of time is the first of many trials you will face. You must learn to navigate it if you are to succeed in restoring the celestial core." Elias stared at the river, its currents shimmering with the colors of forgotten moments, flickers of memories, both his own and others, appearing and disappearing like fleeting visions. He felt a deep connection to it, an ancient bond that seemed to stir something inside him. "The river of time?" Elias repeated, his voice filled with wonder. "How can I possibly understand it? I've never been able to control time, no one can." Nova smiled, her eyes reflecting the swirling currents of the river. "That is the challenge, Elias. Time is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be understood, embraced, and lived through. The past, present, and future are all part of the same cycle. The trick is knowing when to let go and when to hold on." Elias's mind raced as he gazed at the river. How could he possibly navigate this? He had always believed time to be a constant, a force that marched forward relentlessly. But now, in this strange realm, it seemed to bend and flow like water. Its boundaries were not fixed, its nature fluid and unpredictable. As if sensing his thoughts, Nova turned to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Trust yourself, Elias. The river will show you what you need to learn. You must allow the current to guide you, not resist it." Elias nodded, though he still felt a twinge of uncertainty. He had spent his life studying the stars, but this was different. The river of time was not a theory, a mathematical equation he could solve. It was a living, breathing entity, and it demanded something from him that he couldn't quite put into words. Taking a deep breath, Elias stepped forward, allowing his foot to touch the river. The moment his skin made contact, a wave of energy rushed through him, and the world around him seemed to ripple. The visions in the river swirled faster, showing glimpses of moments from his past, his childhood, his studies, the time he had spent gazing at the stars. But there were also glimpses of moments that hadn't yet come to pass, futures that were still taking shape, paths yet to be chosen. He felt himself being pulled into the river, caught between the flow of time. The world blurred again, and Elias found himself floating in the vast expanse, drifting between past and future. His mind swirled with 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 possibilities. And yet, there was a strange peace in it, an understanding that this was how it was meant to be. The river didn't force him, it simply showed him. "You must let go of your fear of time, Elias." Nova's voice came through the chaos, calm and steady. "Only then will you find the path ahead." With those words, Elias released his grip on the past and the future. He let the river carry him, trusting in its flow, trusting in the journey that was unfolding before him. As the visions around him began to fade, Elias felt a deep sense of clarity. The river had shown him what he needed to know. Time, like the stars, was not something to control, it was something to understand, to embrace. And now, he was ready to continue. The river of time had been his first trial, but it was only the beginning. There were many more challenges to come, and Elias knew he had to face them with an open heart, trusting in the path the stars had set before him. Together with Nova, he stepped forward into the unknown, ready for whatever lay ahead. As Elias and Nova continued their journey, the world around them shifted once more. The river of time had guided them through its winding currents, teaching Elias the delicate art of surrendering to the flow of moments. Now, the air felt different, charged with a sense of expectation, as if the very sky itself was waiting for something to unfold. The landscape before them was unlike anything Elias had ever imagined. High above the river's swirling currents, a vast expanse of floating islands hovered in the sky, suspended as if by some unseen force. Each island was a self-contained world, with lush forests, sparkling waterfalls, and towering mountain peaks that reached up toward the stars. The islands drifted lazily, circling one another in an elegant dance across the heavens. Some islands shimmered with golden light, while others were bathed in silver, their surfaces smooth and reflective like polished glass. The stars above gleamed brighter than ever before, their constellations woven into intricate patterns that seemed to guide the island's movements. Elias felt a sense of awe as he gazed at the floating worlds, realizing just how small he was in the grand tapestry of the universe. "This is the realm of the floating isles," Nova explained, her voice carrying softly on the wind. "It is a place where the boundaries between worlds are thin, where reality and dreams intertwine. The islands are held aloft by the energy of the celestial core, which must be restored in order for the balance of the universe to remain intact." Elias took a deep breath, his senses overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of the place. He had read about celestial phenomena and explored the night sky through his telescope, but standing in the midst of these floating islands was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The air was crisp and fresh, tinged with the scent of flowers that seemed to bloom with the passing of each moment. The soft hum of celestial energy filled the atmosphere, a melody that resonated deep within his chest. "It's incredible," Elias murmured, his voice filled with wonder. "How is this possible? How can these islands float like this?" Nova smiled, her eyes reflecting the luminous glow of the islands. "The islands are not just physical entities. They are manifestations of the balance between the physical and the ethereal, the connection between the dreams of the universe and its tangible reality. They represent the harmony that the celestial core once brought to this realm." Elias nodded, though he could scarcely comprehend the full weight of her words. The floating isles were more than just a place, they were a symbol of the delicate balance that held the cosmos together. And that balance was now in jeopardy. "Your next trial lies within these islands," Nova continued. "There are many paths here, but only one will lead you to the heart of the celestial core. You must choose wisely and trust in your instincts." Elias looked out over the sprawling expanse of floating worlds, each one teeming with its own mysteries. The islands drifted serenely, their movements slow and deliberate, but there was an underlying tension in the air, as if something was watching, waiting for him to make his move. "Where do we begin?" Elias asked, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. Nova pointed toward a distant island that glowed with a soft, silver light. "There," she said. That is where your journey will continue. But be warned, there are many illusions in this realm. Not everything is as it seems. The floating isles test not only your courage, but also your ability to discern truth from deception. Elias's heart raced as he gazed at the glowing island. He could feel the pull of its energy, a magnetic force drawing him toward it. Yet something inside him hesitated, a voice whispering that there was more to this place than met the eye. As they approached the island, Elias noticed that the air seemed to grow thicker, the gentle breeze turning into a subtle wind that tugged at his cloak. The stars above flickered as if uncertain, their light wavering in the distance. His senses heightened, and he became aware of the subtle hum that filled the air, a vibration that seemed to emanate from the very ground beneath his feet. They landed softly on the island, and as Elias stepped onto its surface, he immediately felt a shift in the atmosphere. The island was alive, its energy pulsating like a heartbeat. The ground beneath his feet was solid but unnaturally smooth, like polished stone. Tall trees with silver leaves stretched up toward the sky, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. But the further Elias ventured into the island, the more he began to sense something strange. The trees seemed to whisper, their leaves rustling with voices that were too soft to fully understand. Nova led the way, her steps sure and confident, but Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around, half expecting to see something lurking in the shadows, but there was nothing. Still, the sense of unease remained. "Do you feel it?" Elias asked, his voice barely a whisper. Nova nodded. "The island tests your perception. It will show you what you fear most, what you desire most, and you must learn to see beyond the illusions." As they walked deeper into the island, Elias saw flashes of images, visions of himself standing before the celestial core, his hand reaching out to restore the balance. But with each vision, there was a twist. In one, he was too late, and the universe collapsed around him. In another, he succeeded only to find himself trapped in an eternal cycle, never able to return home. The visions shifted rapidly, each one more disorienting than the last. Elias's mind began to race. Which of these was the truth? Could he trust the path he had chosen? Or had he already fallen into some trap, some illusion designed to lead him astray? "Remember, Elias," Nova's voice came softly from behind him. "Not everything you see is true. The island mirrors your inner thoughts. It will try to confuse you, to cloud your judgment. But you must trust in your heart and the knowledge you've gained along the way." Elias took a deep breath, trying to clear the disorienting visions from his mind. He focused on the feeling of Nova's presence beside him, steady and unwavering. She was right, he had to trust himself. He had faced challenges before, and he could face this one too. With newfound determination, Elias pressed forward, blocking out the false images that danced before his eyes. As they approached the heart of the island, the air grew warmer, the hum of energy more intense. They were close. Finally, they reached a clearing at the center of the island. At its heart stood a massive stone structure, its surface covered in intricate celestial symbols that glowed faintly in the soft light. It was a gateway, a doorway that would lead them deeper into the mysteries of the floating isles. But Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The true trial lay ahead, and he would need all his courage and wisdom to navigate the challenges that awaited him. "Are you ready?" Nova asked, her voice filled with quiet confidence. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. "I'm ready." With that, they stepped forward, the gateway's light enveloping them, and the next chapter of their journey began. The air around them shimmered as the light from the glowing gateway faded, and Elias felt his feet lift off the ground. In an instant, the world around him transformed, and he found himself standing on the edge of an immense river, its waters sparkling with a luminous glow. The river of time stretched endlessly before him, winding through an ethereal landscape that seemed to shift and blur, as though it were not bound by the constraints of space or reality. The river itself was unlike anything Elias had ever imagined. It flowed slowly, but its currents seemed to carry the weight of countless ages. The water sparkled like stardust, swirling in deep hues of blue and silver, and small, golden lights danced along its surface, drifting with the current. As Elias gazed into the water, he saw not just reflections of the sky and the stars above, but glimpses of moments, past, present, and future, intertwining within its depths. "This is the river of time," Nova said, her voice calm and reverberating with a sense of awe. "It is the lifeblood of the universe, carrying the flow of moments from the beginning to the end, and every possible moment in between. The river is ancient, and it holds within it the memories of all that has come before." Elias took a tentative step forward, his gaze fixed on the river's undulating currents. It felt as though the river was alive, pulsating with energy, its surface constantly shifting, reflecting scenes that Elias recognized and others that were completely foreign to him. "What do you mean by all that has come before?" Elias asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is this the future or the past?" Nova's eyes glinted with the same quiet wisdom she had carried throughout their journey. "It is both. And it is neither. The river of time flows in every direction, backward, forward, sideways, and beyond the limits of linear time. It is not just a passage, it is a living, breathing entity, capable of showing you the threads that bind all things together." Elias's heart pounded in his chest as he looked at the river more closely. The images within its depths were captivating, familiar faces, moments from his past, his grandfather's observatory, and his childhood home in Evermere. But they weren't just memories. There were other visions too, distant and unfamiliar, with faces and places that seemed to belong to different worlds. As he peered deeper into the water, a voice whispered, distant yet clear, from within the river's flow. "Every choice, every moment, echoes through the river of time. You are here not just to witness, but to understand the threads that shape your destiny." The voice resonated through Elias's mind like a soft tremor, and he felt something stir deep within him. It was as if the river was offering him an opportunity, a choice, to see beyond the veil of his current journey. But what was the purpose of this? Why was he being shown these fragments of time? "Nova," Elias said, his voice trembling with the weight of the visions he had seen. "What am I supposed to do here? How can I restore the celestial core if I don't even know what to believe anymore?" Nova stepped closer to him, her eyes gentle yet filled with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the confusion swirling in Elias's heart. "The river of time does not offer answers, Elias. It offers understanding. You must navigate the river and learn to embrace what is, what was, and what could be. The path you seek lies within these moments, but you must trust yourself to make the right decisions." Elias's heart slowed as he considered Nova's words. Trust. The word echoed in his mind. He had trusted Nova when he followed her into the unknown, trusting that she would guide him to the heart of the celestial core. But now, standing before the river of time, it seemed that trust was the key to understanding the visions he was being shown. He stepped closer to the river, the golden lights dancing at his feet, and crouched down to touch the shimmering surface. The moment his fingers made contact with the water, the visions intensified. The river's depths rippled, revealing clearer images, his grandfather, young and full of purpose, tracing the same celestial map Elias had discovered. There, in his grandfather's eyes, Elias saw the same yearning that had haunted his own life, a desire to find answers beyond the stars, to restore the balance between the realms. Elias's heart tightened as he watched his grandfather stand at the edge of an unknown world, gazing into the swirling abyss. A vision of the celestial core flashed before him, broken and fractured, the light within dimming with each passing moment. "This was my grandfather's path," Elias whispered, his voice catching in his throat. "He failed, didn't he?" Nova's voice, soft but firm, interrupted his thoughts. "Yes, but that is only part of the story. Your grandfather's journey was incomplete because he did not have the courage to face the final choice. He was afraid of what might happen if he succeeded. But you are different, Elias. You have already made the choice to believe, to step beyond the limits of what you know. That is why you are here." Elias stood slowly, the weight of his grandfather's failure heavy on his shoulders. But there was something else too, something deep within him, a flicker of hope that had been kindled when he first stepped into the floating isles. He wasn't alone. He had Nova by his side, and he had the strength of his own will. He had the courage to continue. "How do I move forward?" Elias asked, his voice steady but filled with determination. Nova smiled, her gaze filled with understanding. "You must walk the river's path. The current will not always be gentle, and you will be faced with choices that challenge your deepest beliefs. But trust yourself. Trust in the choices you make, and the answers you seek will come." Elias looked at the river again, the light from the golden orbs reflecting in its depths. He saw more fragments of his journey, moments that hadn't happened yet, but ones he could feel in his soul. The river held the secrets to his destiny, but he could not stay forever. He needed to keep moving forward. "Let's go," Elias said, stepping back from the river's edge. "The journey isn't over yet." Nova nodded, her expression one of quiet approval. Together, they turned away from the river of time, ready to face the next chapter of their journey. The path ahead was uncertain, but Elias knew one thing for sure: the answers were out there, waiting to be found. The journey from the river of time felt as though they had crossed an invisible threshold, where the world itself seemed to change. Elias, following closely behind Nova, felt an uncanny sense of both anticipation and reverence as they stepped into a vast, open expanse. The sky above them deepened into hues of midnight blue, and the air hummed with an ancient energy that seemed to call out to him. Before them stood a monumental structure, tall stone pillars stretching into the sky, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that shimmered faintly with a celestial glow. The ground was covered with smooth stones, scattered like a forgotten puzzle, and the air was thick with the faint sound of voices, echoing from some distant time. "This is the ruins of Lamora," Nova explained, her voice carrying the weight of ages. Once a flourishing civilization, Lamora was a beacon of knowledge and magic in the cosmos. But something happened. A great disaster shattered their world, and they fell into silence. These ruins are all that remain of them. Elias felt a shiver run down his spine as they walked through the remnants of the ancient city. The ruins, though weathered and broken, carried a deep sense of mystery, as if the very stones held memories of the civilization that once thrived here. Every step he took felt like an intrusion into a sacred space, and yet, there was something pulling him forward, something urging him to listen, to learn. As they passed through an archway, the faint sounds Elias had heard earlier became clearer, whispers, like voices from another time, speaking in a language that was unfamiliar but strangely comforting. The wind carried their echoes, as though the voices of the ancients were trying to tell him something. "These voices," Elias said, his voice barely a whisper. "Are they the people of Lamora?" Nova nodded, her gaze distant. "Yes." The ancients of Lamora left behind a legacy not just of knowledge, but of a connection to the universe itself. Their voices are echoes of the past, woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. They hold the key to understanding what went wrong, and perhaps how we can restore the balance. Elias felt the pull of these voices, each one like a thread weaving through his mind. They spoke of a time before the disaster, of a world where the stars and planets were in harmony, where the celestial core pulsed with life. But there were also warnings about the coming darkness, about the fracture that had begun to spread through the universe. The celestial core had once been protected by the ancients, but as their world began to unravel, their knowledge was lost. As Elias listened, a vision slowly began to form in his mind. He saw the ancient city of Lamora, once vibrant with light, now darkened by the cracks in the sky, the stars above flickering in and out of existence. The people of Lamora had once been powerful, their wisdom unmatched, but even they could not stop the inevitable. And as the vision played out, Elias saw something else, something he had not expected. In the center of the city, surrounded by the ruins, stood a figure. A tall, regal being, bathed in a soft, glowing light. They were not human, but something more, something that seemed to exist both within and beyond the boundaries of time and space. That's the guardian of the celestial core, Elias said, a sense of realization dawning on him. The figure in the vision had a presence that radiated power, yet there was an underlying sorrow in their gaze, as though they had known that their world was slipping away. Nova turned to Elias, her expression grave. Yes. The guardian was the protector of the celestial core, the one who stood at the threshold between the realms, ensuring that the balance was kept. But even the guardian could not stop the fracture once it began. The ancient texts speak of the guardian's final sacrifice, an attempt to seal the fracture, but they were too late. Elias felt a deep sadness for the guardian, a being who had given everything to protect the universe, only to see it fall apart. And yet, Elias could not shake the feeling that there was more to this story. The guardian had been a protector, yes, but they had also been a symbol of something larger, a force that connected all things, from the smallest particles to the grandest galaxies. Is that why we're here? Elias asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. To find the guardian and restore the celestial core? Nova paused for a moment, as though contemplating the weight of his question. The guardian's role is indeed central to the core's restoration. But there is something you must understand, Elias. The guardian's sacrifice was not just a physical act, it was a spiritual one. They gave up their essence to bind the fracture, hoping that one day, someone would come to restore what was lost. That someone is you. Elias's heart pounded as he took in Nova's words. He had always known that he had a part to play in this journey, but the magnitude of the task was now becoming clearer. He wasn't just here to observe or to restore balance, he was here to confront the very essence of the universe's fracture, to confront the same darkness that had swallowed Lamora. As if in response to his thoughts, the voices of the ancients seemed to grow louder, calling to him. Their whispers carried a sense of urgency, as though they knew time was running out. Nova placed a hand gently on his shoulder, grounding him. "You are not alone, Elias," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "The voices of the ancients are here to guide you. But you must listen carefully, for the answers lie not just in the past, but in the future, and in the choices you will make." Elias nodded, his resolve hardening. He was beginning to understand the weight of the journey ahead. The ancient city of Lamora, with all its mysteries and echoes, was just one piece of the puzzle. And as the whispers of the ancients faded into the wind, Elias knew that his next step would bring him closer to the truth, a truth that would change everything. Together with Nova, he stepped deeper into the ruins, following the faint trail of light that seemed to beckon him forward. The echoes of the ancients lingered in the air, guiding him toward the next chapter of his journey. The celestial core awaited. Elias had long felt a pull in his heart, but the weight of the ruins, the whispers of the ancients, and the responsibility of the task ahead had left him both uncertain and determined. As he and Nova continued through the desolate remnants of Lamora, an unfamiliar sense of hope began to flicker in Elias's chest. They were on the edge of something monumental, something that could bring the celestial core back into balance. The path led them to a central plaza, where the remains of statues and altars lay scattered, broken, and forgotten. At the center of this plaza stood a towering structure, half crumbled with age, but still radiating a faint, ethereal glow. The stone walls were covered in intricate carvings, depicting celestial beings, stars, and constellations in perfect harmony. Nova stopped before the entrance, her expression solemn. "This is the hall of the Celestial Guide," she explained, her voice almost reverent. "Within these walls is the key to understanding how we can restore the celestial core. It is said that the Celestial Guide is the spirit of the universe itself, an ancient entity who knows the path to healing the fracture." Elias's breath caught in his throat. "A spirit? Is that the guardian?" "No," Nova shook her head, her gaze softening. "The guardian was a protector. The Celestial Guide is different. They are a being of pure knowledge and cosmic wisdom. It is said that the Celestial Guide can offer insight into the future and reveal the truth hidden within the stars." Elias felt the enormity of what lay before him. To meet the Celestial Guide was to meet the heart of the cosmos itself, an entity that held the knowledge of both creation and destruction. He wasn't sure if he was ready for such a meeting, but in his heart, he knew it was inevitable. They stepped into the hall, and as they did, the air seemed to change. The temperature dropped ever so slightly, and the whispers of the ancients faded, replaced by a profound silence that settled like dust over the ruins. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, the carvings shifting as if alive, the stars embedded in the stone flickering as though they were windows into another realm. At the far end of the hall, beyond the columns of stone, there was a platform, a raised altar, glowing softly in the darkness. And upon it, sitting cross-legged with eyes closed, was the Celestial Guide. Their appearance was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Their form shimmered with starlight, a being of pure energy, their body not quite solid but more like liquid light, flowing and changing with the rhythms of the universe itself. They did not look human, nor any form Elias could easily define. The Celestial Guide's features were a blend of every star and constellation Elias had ever studied, radiant, ever-changing, and utterly infinite. Their presence was both serene and immense, a quiet force that seemed to fill every corner of the hall. As Nova and Elias approached, the Celestial Guide opened their eyes. They were not eyes as Elias understood them, rather, they were two pools of deep, shifting starlight, each containing galaxies within. The being's gaze seemed to pierce directly into his soul, seeing not just who he was, but who he could become. "You have come, Elias Carter," the Celestial Guide spoke. Their voice was not one that echoed through the hall, but rather, it resonated within Elias's mind, as though the very words were woven into the fabric of the universe itself. You have walked the path of the stars, and now, you stand at the threshold of a decision that will shape the destiny of all. Elias stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the presence of this being. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm just an astronomer. I don't understand how to restore the celestial core." The celestial guide tilted their head, as if contemplating his words. "You are not just an astronomer, Elias. You are a dreamer. And it is through dreams that the universe is born. It is through belief that the fractures of the world are healed. The key to restoring balance lies not in what you know, but in what you believe, and in your willingness to embrace the unknown." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had always thought of the universe as a collection of stars and planets, a system of natural laws and logic. But this was something different. The universe was not just a physical space, it was something alive, something that could be felt, dreamed, and shaped. And Elias now realized that his journey was not just about understanding the stars, but about understanding the dreams that connected them. The fracture in the celestial core is not just a physical wound, the celestial guide continued, their voice soft yet commanding. It is a tear in the fabric of reality itself. The universe is held together by the belief in its beauty, its harmony, and its balance. When that belief falters, when fear takes root, the stars flicker and the balance begins to shift. It is not a matter of restoring the stars themselves, but of restoring the faith in their light. Elias closed his eyes, the weight of the guide's words settling over him. He had believed in the stars, in the beauty of the cosmos, but had he ever truly understood what that belief meant? Had he ever truly understood how deep the connection between the universe and the soul ran? "You must go to the heart of the fracture," the celestial guide said, their voice now a calm breeze that seemed to flow through Elias's mind. "There, you will face your greatest challenge. But remember this, the fracture is not just within the universe, it is within you. The journey you take will not only heal the stars, but will heal you." Elias nodded slowly, his mind racing with the implications of the guide's words. The fracture was within him as well, his doubts, his fears, his sense of inadequacy. But if he could face them, if he could believe in the light even when it seemed dim, perhaps he could heal not just the universe, but himself as well. "The time has come," the celestial guide said, their voice growing softer. "The path you must take is before you. The stars will guide you, but only if you are willing to listen." And with that, the celestial guide began to fade, their form dissolving into the starlight, leaving only the faint glow of their presence lingering in the hall. Elias stood there for a moment, the weight of their wisdom filling his chest. Nova placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice filled with quiet determination. "You've heard the celestial guide. It's time to continue your journey, Elias." With a deep breath, Elias turned toward the exit of the hall. The stars above flickered in the distance, guiding him onward. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: the journey was no longer just about finding the celestial core, it was about finding himself. The universe was waiting. The night air felt different now, charged with possibility, vibrating with the ancient knowledge Elias had just received. The hull of the celestial guide had left an indelible mark on him, the words of the cosmic entity echoing in his mind as he stepped back into the open sky. The stars were brighter than ever, their twinkling light more than just distant flames in the dark. Now, they were a map, a guide, a reflection of something deeper within him. Nova, walking beside him, was silent for a long while, as if giving Elias the space to process the weight of their encounter. She knew the importance of what had just transpired, but also understood that sometimes the path forward was hidden in the quiet moments after a revelation. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath on the wind. Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the endless sky above them. "I think I've always felt it," he replied softly. "But now, it's clearer. I've been looking at the stars as distant objects, things I can observe and catalog. But now they feel alive. Like they're waiting for me to understand something. I don't know what it is yet, but I know it's important." Nova smiled, a knowing look in her eyes. "The stars have always been alive. We just need to learn how to listen." They walked in silence for a few moments, the vast emptiness of the cosmos stretching around them. The floating isles, where they had spent the past few days, were suspended in a sea of twilight, a limbo between day and night, where the stars seemed closer than anywhere Elias had ever been. The islands themselves floated serenely in the sky, shrouded in mist, with ancient temples and trees growing from the tops of stone pillars. It was a place that felt timeless, unbound by the rules of reality. But as Elias looked up, he could sense that there was more to this place than met the eye. And then, as though the universe had sensed his growing curiosity, a sudden wind picked up, rustling the leaves of the nearby trees and carrying with it a faint, musical hum. Elias stopped in his tracks, listening intently. It was a sound that seemed to come from the stars themselves, a rhythm, a melody that was both familiar and foreign. It was as if the universe was whispering a secret, one that only those who were ready could hear. "What is that sound?" Elias asked, his voice a mix of awe and confusion. Nova's expression grew solemn, her eyes narrowing as she turned toward the horizon. "It is the song of the celestial convergence. It is a rare occurrence when the stars align in such a way that they communicate with one another, weaving their light and energy into a cosmic symphony. The sound you hear is the harmony of the stars, a song that carries secrets, secrets of the universe itself." Elias stared at the sky, his heart pounding in his chest as the song grew louder. The stars seemed to shimmer more brightly, their light pulsating in time with the melody. It was as if the entire cosmos was alive, each star a note in an eternal composition. "This is incredible," Elias whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. What do they mean? The stars, they're trying to tell us something. Nova nodded, her face serious. They are. But only those who are truly open to the cosmic flow can hear their message. The song of the celestial convergence is more than just sound, it's a guide. A map, a key. The universe is trying to reveal something hidden, something that will help you in your journey. Elias's mind raced as he looked around at the floating islands, trying to understand the significance of the star's message. The song felt like an invitation, an opening to something vast and mysterious. He could feel the pull, deep inside him, the same pull he had felt from the very beginning, back in his observatory, the same pull that had led him here. But now, it was stronger. More urgent. "Where do we go from here?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Nova looked at him, her gaze both patient and wise. "We follow the song. The stars are guiding us, Elias. We must go to the heart of this convergence. There, you will find what you need to continue your quest." Without another word, they began to move toward the center of the floating isles, the melody of the stars guiding their steps. The air around them shimmered with light, and the very ground seemed to hum with energy. As they walked, Elias felt as if the world was shifting, opening up in new ways. The path before them was bathed in starlight, as if the very stars themselves were illuminating their journey. The deeper they ventured into the islands, the more Elias felt the presence of something ancient, something older than the stars themselves. The trees, the stone pillars, even the air seemed imbued with a deep, cosmic energy. It was as if the land itself was part of the celestial song, resonating with the harmony of the universe. Eventually, they came to a clearing at the center of the floating isles. At its heart stood a towering stone structure, its surface covered in glowing runes and celestial markings. The song of the celestial convergence was at its loudest here, the melody filling the air, vibrating through Elias's chest. "This is the Temple of Secrets," Nova explained, her voice reverent. "Here, the stars have hidden their wisdom, their knowledge, and their prophecies. Within these walls lies the next step of your journey." Elias felt a wave of both excitement and trepidation wash over him. He had come so far, and yet the path ahead still felt uncertain, fraught with danger and challenges. But the stars had shown him a glimpse of their light, and now he had to follow it, no matter where it led. As they entered the temple, the celestial melody began to change, its rhythm growing more complex, as though the stars themselves were preparing to reveal their deepest secrets. Elias's heart raced as he stepped forward, ready to learn the truth that awaited him inside. The sky above had given him a key to unlock the universe's mysteries. It was time to listen. The moment they crossed the threshold of the Temple of Secrets, Elias felt an overwhelming sense of stillness, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation. The walls of the temple shimmered with an ethereal glow, illuminated by the same celestial light that filled the sky. The ground beneath his feet seemed to hum with ancient energy, vibrating in time with the cosmic melody that had guided them here. The temple's interior was vast, its architecture an intricate blend of ancient stone and glowing crystal. Every surface was adorned with intricate symbols, constellations, celestial bodies, and strange glyphs that Elias could not decipher. At the far end of the chamber stood a massive stone altar, its surface etched with more runes, pulsating with an energy that seemed to reach out to him. Nova led Elias toward the altar, her expression unreadable, her steps deliberate. As they approached, a sudden breeze stirred, though no windows were present to allow such a movement. Elias could feel the presence of something ancient here, something that had been waiting for him, hidden within the fabric of the universe. The lost kingdom of Lamora lies beyond the veil, Nova said quietly, her voice echoing in the vast space. It was once a thriving civilization, a kingdom of knowledge and wisdom, but it was lost to time and shadow. The stars themselves have guarded its secrets, but now they have chosen you to uncover them. Elias's heart quickened. He had heard the name Lamora before, from the ancient texts in his grandfather's library, but until now, he had thought it merely a legend, a tale of a forgotten realm. Now, standing in the heart of the temple, he felt the weight of its reality pressing down on him. The lost kingdom, he repeated, his voice tinged with awe. Why is it hidden? What happened to it? Nova turned to face him, her eyes distant as though searching the fabric of time itself. Lamora's downfall came when the kingdom's rulers sought to harness the power of the stars themselves. They believed they could control the very fabric of the universe, time, space, and destiny. But such power comes with a price. The kingdom's greed shattered the balance, and in the chaos, Lamora was erased from existence. Its people were scattered, its knowledge lost. Yet, the echoes of Lamora remain, buried deep within the stars, waiting to be uncovered. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. The idea of controlling the stars, the very forces that had guided him on this journey, was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. He knew that the same power that had destroyed Lamora could destroy the balance of the universe once more if misused. The key to restoring the celestial core, he realized, might lie in understanding what had happened to Lamora and how its downfall could be avoided. Nova stepped forward, placing her hand on the altar. The glowing runes shifted, and a soft, melodic hum filled the air, the song of the stars resonating with the altar's energy. Slowly, the stone began to move, parting to reveal a hidden chamber beneath. The air grew colder, and the faint glow of ancient stars illuminated the darkened space below. "This is the path to Lamora," Nova said, her voice low, almost reverent. "It will take us beyond the realms of time and memory. We will journey into the past, into the heart of the kingdom, where its greatest secrets lie hidden." Elias hesitated for a moment, his mind swirling with questions. Could he truly uncover the lost kingdom and its secrets? Could he prevent the mistakes of the past from repeating themselves? The journey ahead felt uncertain, but Elias knew that there was no turning back. He had been chosen for a reason, and he would follow this path, no matter where it led. With a final glance at the temple's shimmering walls, Elias descended into the chamber, the glow of the stars guiding his steps. Nova followed closely behind, her eyes fixed on the path ahead, as if she already knew what awaited them. The passage was long and winding, the walls etched with more celestial symbols and ancient glyphs. As they moved deeper into the heart of the temple, the air grew thicker, heavier with the weight of time itself. The hum of the stars became more pronounced, vibrating through Elias's chest with every step. Finally, they reached the end of the passage, where a massive, circular door stood before them. The door was made of a translucent crystal, its surface covered with shifting patterns of light. The celestial song echoed through the chamber, its rhythm pulsing in time with Elias's heartbeat. "This door will take us to Lamora," Nova said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "But once we enter, we will be bound to its fate. The kingdom's past will become our present, and its secrets will be revealed to us." Elias stood before the door, his hand hovering over the crystal surface. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing on him. Once he crossed this threshold, there would be no going back. He would see the lost kingdom with his own eyes, and he would uncover the secrets that had been hidden for so long. With a deep breath, Elias placed his hand on the door, and the moment his fingers made contact, the crystal began to glow. The door shimmered, its surface rippling like water, and with a soft, melodic chime, it slowly began to open. The world around Elias shifted, and for a moment, everything seemed to dissolve into light. When the brilliance faded, he found himself standing in a vast, open landscape, a kingdom unlike anything he had ever seen. The lost kingdom of Lamora. The sky above was dark, but it was not the black of night. Instead, it shimmered with the light of countless stars, swirling in intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with life. Towering structures of white stone rose from the ground, their surfaces adorned with glowing runes and celestial symbols. The air was filled with a strange, almost tangible energy, as if the very essence of the kingdom was still alive, waiting to be rediscovered. Elias's breath caught in his throat as he took in the sight before him. This was the kingdom his grandfather had spoken of, the lost realm that had once touched the stars, now forgotten by time. "We are here," Nova said softly, her voice filled with reverence. "The kingdom of Lamora. And here, Elias, you will learn the truth of what happened to it, and what you must do to restore balance to the celestial core." Elias stepped forward, the weight of his purpose settling around him. The journey had brought him here, to this moment, and he knew that the answers he sought lay within the heart of Lamora. But what secrets would he uncover, and how would they shape the fate of the universe? With each step, the stars above seemed to draw closer, as if urging him onward. The song of the cosmos echoed in his ears, guiding him toward the heart of Lamora, where the truth would finally be revealed. As Elias ventured deeper into the heart of the lost kingdom of Lamora, he felt a growing sense of unease. The kingdom, though beautiful, was not entirely empty. There was a presence here, an energy that both calmed and challenged him, as though the very land itself was testing his resolve. Nova walked beside him, her eyes scanning the surroundings, aware of the ancient forces that lingered in the kingdom's forgotten corners. They had passed through Lomra's grand halls and open courtyards, but now they stood before a towering stone archway, flanked by statues of celestial beings with eyes that seemed to follow their every move. "This is the entrance to the trials of light and shadow," Nova said, her voice serious. "Within this trial, you will face challenges that will test not only your physical strength, but the strength of your heart and mind. It is said that those who are worthy will pass through unharmed, but those who are not are lost to the realm forever." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. The stakes had never felt more real. His heart raced as he considered the implications. This trial would not be easy, but he knew that he had no choice. The celestial core needed him, and to restore it, he must pass this test. Taking a deep breath, Elias stepped forward, crossing the threshold of the archway. The moment his foot touched the ground, the air around him shifted, and the world seemed to ripple and distort. The once still atmosphere was now thick with an overwhelming energy, one that felt both like light and darkness intertwined. The ground beneath him became uneven, the stones shifting and rising, forming a labyrinth that stretched far into the distance. The sky above no longer held the comforting light of stars, but instead, the sun shone down in a blazing, unrelenting glare, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the ground. "Welcome, Elias Carter," a voice boomed from all around him. It was deep and resonant, echoing through the labyrinth with a power that seemed to reach into his soul. "You have entered the realm of duality, where light and shadow are bound together. To succeed, you must navigate both the brilliance and the darkness within yourself. Only by understanding the balance between them will you find your way." Elias looked around, trying to locate the source of the voice, but all he could see were the shifting walls and ever-changing shadows of the labyrinth. It was as though the path itself was alive, changing with every step he took. Nova's voice echoed softly in his mind, reassuring him. "Remember, Elias, this trial is not just about the outside world. It is about your own inner journey, the balance you hold between your fears and your courage, your doubts and your belief." He nodded, feeling a sense of calm settle over him. The trial was not an external battle, it was a reflection of his own struggles. Elias had spent much of his life doubting his place in the universe, questioning his worth. But now, in the face of this challenge, he had to confront these doubts and fears head-on. As he moved forward, the labyrinth seemed to respond to his thoughts, shifting to reflect his inner turmoil. The bright sun above cast harsh, blinding light upon him, forcing him to shield his eyes. Every step was accompanied by a sense of unease, as if the path he walked was testing his very soul. The shadows that stretched across the ground whispered, almost taunting him. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled, and a great shadow loomed before him. It was a figure, dark and formless, yet familiar. Elias's heart skipped a beat. It was his own shadow, but it was twisted and contorted into something monstrous. The darkness it radiated was suffocating, filling the air with an oppressive weight. "You fear me," the shadow hissed. "You fear what lies within you, Elias. You fear the darkness that resides in your heart, the part of you that doubts, that wishes for control and power. You will never succeed. You will never be the one to restore the celestial core." Elias stood frozen, staring at the dark figure. It was him, yet not him. The voice, the fear, it all felt too real. But deep down, he knew this was not the true challenge. The darkness that stood before him was only a reflection of the doubts he had carried for so long. "You are wrong," Elias whispered, finding strength in his words. "I am not defined by my fears." The shadow laughed, a hollow, mocking sound that reverberated through the labyrinth. But Elias refused to back down. He stepped forward, his hands steady and his heart resolute. He faced his own shadow, not with fear, but with acceptance. "I acknowledge you," Elias continued, his voice gaining strength. "But you do not control me. I will not let fear define who I am. I am the one who chooses my path." With those words, the shadow writhed, shrinking back from him. The oppressive darkness that had threatened to overwhelm him began to dissipate, replaced by a soft, calming light that filled the space. The figure of his shadow flickered, fading into nothingness. The labyrinth around him began to shift once more, its walls dissolving into a soft, golden glow. Elias's path was now illuminated, and ahead of him stood another challenge. This time, the light was overwhelming. It was not blinding in the same way as before, but it was pure, radiant, almost blinding in its perfection. The figure of Elias, glowing in the light, stood in front of him, representing the part of himself that had always sought to prove his worth, that had always yearned for recognition and accomplishment. "You have conquered the darkness," the voice echoed again, this time softer, almost reverent. "But can you face the weight of your own expectations? Can you walk the path of light without being consumed by your own desires?" Elias felt his heart race again, but this time it was not fear that gripped him. It was a recognition of the pride that had always lived within him, the desire to prove himself to others, to prove his worthiness. It was a burden he had carried with him for as long as he could remember. But now, in this trial, he understood. The light was not meant to be followed blindly, nor was it something to be idolized. It was part of him, yes, but it could not be the sole driver of his journey. "I do not seek validation from others," Elias said firmly, taking a step into the light. "I seek truth. I seek balance. And I will walk this path with humility." The light around him softened, becoming a warm, welcoming glow. It embraced him, not as a conqueror, but as a traveler seeking understanding. With the trials of light and shadow behind him, Elias felt a sense of peace settle over him. The labyrinth had revealed its truth, and he had passed the test, not because he had overcome the darkness or embraced the light, but because he had learned to live with both. He was not defined by either force, but by the balance he had found within himself. As the path before him opened up, Nova stepped forward, her expression one of quiet approval. "You have passed the trials of light and shadow, Elias. You have shown the strength to balance the forces within you. The way ahead is clear. But remember, the universe will always test you. This trial is but the beginning." Elias nodded, a sense of calm washing over him. He was no longer the same person who had entered the labyrinth. He had faced his fears and his pride, and in doing so, he had found a deeper understanding of himself. The journey to restore the celestial core was far from over, but now, Elias felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. As Elias stepped through the shifting veil of light that marked the end of the trials of light and shadow, he felt the weight of the journey settle on his shoulders. The labyrinth, with its tests of his inner struggles, had been a pivotal moment. He had faced the duality of light and darkness within himself and emerged stronger. But now, ahead of him, lay something different, something far more ethereal, the realm of dreams. The landscape before him was unlike anything he had encountered before. The sky above was a deep, tranquil indigo, and the stars seemed to hum with a subtle rhythm, as if they were alive and whispering ancient secrets. The ground was soft and pliable beneath his feet, like walking on a bed of clouds, and the air carried a gentle fragrance of jasmine and lavender, calming his nerves with every breath. "This is the dreamscape," Nova's voice whispered in his mind, though she was nowhere to be seen. "It is the bridge between the realms of sleep and waking, the place where all dreams are born." Elias looked around, taking in the surreal beauty of the dreamscape. There were no solid structures, no walls or boundaries, only vast expanses of rolling, luminous fields that seemed to stretch into infinity. Floating islands drifted lazily through the sky, casting soft shadows on the shimmering ground below. The atmosphere was heavy with a quiet stillness, yet there was a sense of gentle movement, like the very landscape was breathing, alive with the quiet pulse of the universe. As Elias walked forward, he felt an overwhelming sense of calm and wonder, as though he were walking through a world made of fleeting thoughts and delicate reveries. Yet, in the back of his mind, a nagging feeling lingered, the awareness that he was not alone here. This was a realm of dreams, after all, and dreams often held guardians of their own. Suddenly, the air shifted, and a presence emerged from the mist that hung like a veil between the dream worlds. A figure appeared before him, tall and ethereal, with flowing robes made of starlight and a crown that shimmered like the moon. Their face was obscured by a veil of silver threads, but their presence radiated an ancient power, a quiet but undeniable authority. "I have been waiting for you, Elias Carter," the figure said in a voice that was at once soft and commanding, like the sound of a dream being whispered at dawn. The words wrapped around him like a familiar melody. "I am the guardian of dreams. I guard the threshold between reality and the dream realm. It is my duty to ensure that the delicate balance between waking and sleeping is preserved." Elias stood still, unsure of what to say. He felt an overwhelming sense of reverence for this being, as though he were in the presence of something beyond understanding, something both timeless and infinite. The celestial core has been fractured, Elias, the guardian continued, stepping closer, their presence like a gentle breeze caressing his face. And the realm of dreams is not immune to the consequences of this imbalance. The harmony between the dream world and the waking world is in jeopardy. If the balance is not restored, both realms will collapse into chaos, and with it, the very fabric of reality will unravel. Elias nodded, a sense of urgency rising within him. He had come so far, faced so many trials, but the weight of this task, restoring the celestial core, was beginning to feel even more pressing than before. Dreams were not just a fleeting escape, they were a vital part of the universe's balance. The guardian extended their hand, and a soft light illuminated the space around them. As they spoke, the landscape began to change. The once serene dreamscape twisted and flickered like a fading memory. Shadows grew longer, and the peaceful floating islands trembled in the wake of the shifting atmosphere. "There is a fracture here as well, Elias," the guardian said, their voice tinged with sorrow. "Dreams, once a source of hope and inspiration, have begun to fade. They are slipping away, lost in the chaos of the universe's unraveling. If the celestial core remains broken, these dreams will disappear forever, leaving only darkness in their place." Elias's heart ached as he watched the once beautiful world begin to fade. Dreams were not just stories, they were the whispers of the soul, the place where hope and wonder flourished. To lose them would mean losing a part of what made life beautiful. "But what can I do?" Elias asked, his voice a whisper, barely audible over the sound of the crumbling dreamscape. "I've faced so many trials already. I'm not sure I can do this alone." The guardian smiled gently, and for the first time, Elias saw the glint of kindness in their eyes. "You are never alone, Elias. You have always had the power within you. The trials have only revealed what lies buried beneath the surface. You must embrace your power, your ability to dream. Only then can the balance be restored." Elias's mind swirled with the implications of the guardian's words. He had always been afraid of his own potential, of the vast unknown that lay beyond the stars. But perhaps that fear had always been the very thing holding him back. He had to let go of the limitations he had placed on himself. He had to trust that he was capable of more than he believed. "Restoring the celestial core will not be easy," the guardian said, their voice soft but insistent. "It requires more than just strength and wisdom. It requires a deep connection to the dreams of the universe, a willingness to face your deepest fears and your greatest desires." Elias closed his eyes, drawing in a deep breath. He thought of the dreams he had held on to throughout his life, his desire to understand the cosmos, his yearning to be more than just a humble astronomer, his desire to make a difference in the world. These were his dreams, and they had guided him this far. But now, he understood that it wasn't just his dreams that mattered, it was the dreams of the entire universe, the dreams of those who had come before him and those who would come after. When he opened his eyes, the guardian was still there, their eyes filled with quiet wisdom. "Do you accept the responsibility, Elias Carter?" the guardian asked, their voice soft but full of weight. Elias's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and hope. He had come this far, there was no turning back now. "I accept," Elias said, his voice steady and clear. The guardian's smile deepened, and with a single motion, they extended their hand toward Elias. A surge of energy pulsed through the air, and the dreamscape around them began to shift. The fading fragments of dreams began to swirl around them, taking form in the air like glowing orbs of light. "You are ready," the guardian said softly. "The path to restoring the celestial core is near. But remember, Elias, your dreams are not just your own. They are the dreams of the universe, and they will guide you through the darkness ahead." With those words, the world around Elias seemed to dissolve into a brilliant flash of light. The guardian of dreams, the realm of dreams, and everything within it seemed to vanish. But Elias felt no fear, only a quiet resolve. He was ready to face the next step of his journey. His dreams, and the dreams of the universe, were now one. And he would not let them slip away into the void. Elias opened his eyes to find himself standing at the edge of a vast, glittering expanse. The ground beneath him was a seamless, translucent surface, as though the very floor were made of stardust suspended in the void. Above him, the night sky stretched endlessly, but this was no ordinary sky, it was a labyrinth of stars. Constellations twisted and turned, weaving intricate patterns in the heavens, their light pulsing like distant heartbeats. Some stars glowed softly, while others blazed with intense brilliance, their radiance illuminating the path ahead. "This is the labyrinth of stars," Nova's voice echoed softly in his mind. "It is a place of confusion and clarity, a realm where time and space fold upon themselves. Only those who can navigate its mysteries will reach the heart of the universe, where the celestial core waits to be restored." Elias felt a sense of awe wash over him as he gazed into the labyrinth's depths. Each constellation seemed to move, shifting in subtle ways that made the stars seem alive, as if they were constantly rearranging themselves, forming and dissolving pathways before his eyes. The very air felt thick with possibility, as though the labyrinth was not just a physical space, but a representation of the complex and ever-changing nature of the universe itself. Taking a deep breath, Elias stepped forward. The stardust under his feet shifted with each step, forming new constellations that appeared and vanished as he moved. It was both beautiful and disorienting, the landscape constantly shifting, always out of reach. He didn't have much time. The guardian of dreams had told him that the balance of the universe was fragile, that the celestial course fracture had begun to spread, infecting not just dreams, but the very fabric of reality itself. This labyrinth was just another test, another challenge to overcome on his journey to restore that balance. Elias took a moment to center himself, grounding his thoughts as he looked around. The stars above seemed to call to him, as if offering guidance, but their paths were not clear. They were fleeting, vanishing as soon as they appeared, like glimmers of insight that came and went in the blink of an eye. The path ahead of him seemed impossible to navigate. But then, a thought stirred within him, something he had learned from his trials in the dreamscape. The key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe lay not in logic or intellect, but in something far deeper. It was in the quiet spaces between the stars, the moments of stillness where he could listen to the pulse of the universe itself. With renewed determination, Elias closed his eyes and focused. He began to listen to the rhythm of the stars, the whispers in the space between light and shadow. It was not the visual patterns that mattered, but the subtle energy that flowed between them. As he tuned his senses to the hum of the stars, something clicked within him. He felt the faint pull of a distant constellation, its light calling to him. Opening his eyes, Elias began to follow the path that the stars revealed to him. It was a winding journey, each step taking him deeper into the labyrinth. The stars continued to shift, their light guiding him one moment, obscuring his way the next. But Elias no longer felt lost. He trusted the subtle guidance of the cosmos, knowing that the path would reveal itself when the time was right. As he ventured further into the labyrinth, he noticed that the air around him seemed to shimmer with energy. The constellations began to take on more distinct shapes, familiar shapes. Faces, figures, and symbols danced before his eyes, all woven into the fabric of the starlit sky. It was as if the stars were not just lights, but memories, echoes of ancient beings who had once traveled this very path. One such figure caught Elias's attention. It was a face, familiar yet strange, floating in the distance. The eyes were wise and compassionate, but there was a sadness in them, a yearning that spoke of a long-forgotten past. The figure reached out toward him, as if trying to convey something important, but before Elias could react, it vanished into the starlit void. His heart skipped a beat. The figure had looked so much like his grandfather. Grandfather? Elias whispered to the empty space, his voice barely audible in the vastness of the labyrinth. There was no answer. But Elias knew, deep in his heart, that his grandfather had once walked this same path. He had come this far, but something had held him back from completing the journey. Had his grandfather failed in his quest to restore the celestial core? Had he given up when the labyrinth became too much to bear? Elias couldn't afford to dwell on these questions. His grandfather's legacy, the map, the wisdom that had been passed down to him, those were all part of his journey now. He could not allow the same fate to befall him. As he continued, the labyrinth seemed to grow more intense. The stars above flickered erratically, their patterns becoming more chaotic, as though they were reacting to his presence. The stardust beneath his feet began to swirl, forming tight spirals that pulled at his very being, threatening to pull him into the abyss of the labyrinth's heart. Elias's pulse quickened as the path ahead grew darker. But then, Just as he thought he might lose himself in the maze of light, a familiar voice reached out to him. "You are close, Elias," Nova's voice called, echoing in his mind. "Trust in the stars. They are your guide." He took another step, and the starlight ahead of him seemed to part, revealing a pathway that glowed brighter than any he had seen before. This path, unlike the others, did not shift or dissolve, it remained constant, like a beacon in the night. With a deep breath, Elias followed the path, his heart racing. The labyrinth of stars was not just a challenge of the mind, but a test of his ability to trust in the unknown, to listen to the quiet whispers of the universe. As he moved forward, the labyrinth began to unravel, the stars slowly coming into alignment, the path growing clearer. Finally, at the center of the labyrinth, Elias found himself standing before a shimmering doorway, its edges outlined in the purest starlight. He knew that this was the gateway to the next stage of his journey. With a steady hand, he reached out and touched the door. The starlight enveloped him, and as the door swung open, he stepped through into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay beyond. The labyrinth of stars had tested him, but Elias had passed. And now, the path to the celestial core was within his reach. Elias stepped through the shimmering doorway, feeling the warmth of starlight pulse around him like a living thing. The labyrinth of stars had been a trial of patience, trust, and perception, but now he found himself in a place far different, still, quiet, and strangely intimate. The starlight faded, and before him stretched a vast cavern, bathed in the soft glow of a single, ethereal moon that hung suspended in the sky like a forgotten dream. The cavern's walls were made of smooth, pale stone, and they reflected the moonlight in a way that made the entire space feel as if it were alive with light. The air was cool and crisp, carrying a gentle breeze that whispered through the cavern's many passages. In the distance, he could hear the faint sound of running water, its melody echoing like a lullaby through the hollow expanse. Nova's voice sounded in his mind, soft but clear. "Welcome to the moonlit cavern, Elias. It is a place of reflection and awakening. Here, the echoes of the past and the future blend in the silence, and the heart of the universe beats in time with your own. To pass through, you must confront what lies within you." Elias's heart raced. Confronting what lay within him? He had already faced so many trials, yet this one felt different, more personal. The labyrinth of stars had tested his resolve, but here, in the moonlit cavern, he was unsure what kind of challenge awaited him. As he ventured further into the cavern, the air seemed to thrum with a quiet energy. The moon above him glowed brighter now, its light illuminating the path ahead. He felt an inexplicable pull toward the moonlit glow, as though it were drawing him into the very depths of the cavern. Following the luminous path, Elias's mind began to wander. The further he went, the more he felt the weight of his journey pressing on him. He had been so focused on the external challenges, the stars, the labyrinth, the tests he had passed, that he had scarcely stopped to think about what it all meant for him, personally. His grandfather's legacy, the celestial core, Nova's guidance, everything seemed to point toward a singular purpose. But did he truly understand what he was meant to do? Suddenly, a low sound reverberated through the cavern, breaking his thoughts. It was a soft, melodic hum, as if the cavern itself were singing a song. Elias stopped, looking around, but the source of the sound was not immediately clear. The hum seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, echoing off the cavern's walls and reverberating deep within his chest. The moonlight grew brighter, and Elias felt as though something was emerging from the shadows. Slowly, a figure appeared before him, emerging from the glow of the cavern. It was a woman, dressed in flowing robes that shimmered like starlight. Her face was obscured by a veil of soft light, but her presence was unmistakable. She radiated calm and wisdom, her aura almost as bright as the moon itself. "You have come far, Elias," the figure said, her voice like the soft rustling of leaves in the wind. "But to continue your journey, you must first understand your own heart." Elias took a cautious step forward. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with curiosity. "What is this place?" "I am the guardian of the moonlit cavern," she replied, her voice echoing through the silence. "And this place is a reflection of your soul, a space where you must confront the truth of your being. You have already faced the challenges of the stars and the labyrinth, but now, in the stillness of the cavern, you must look inward." Elias's mind spun. What did she mean, to look inward? He had always prided himself on his understanding of the stars, the science of the universe, but had he ever truly understood himself? The cavern was quiet, so quiet that he could hear the sound of his own breathing, and in the stillness, it felt as though his thoughts were growing louder, more insistent. "Do you seek to restore the celestial core because you believe it is your destiny?" the guardian asked, her eyes piercing through the veil of light that surrounded her. "Or do you seek it because you are afraid of what might happen if you don't?" The question struck Elias like a bolt of lightning. He had never truly asked himself why he was on this journey. He had always assumed it was simply because he had to. The stars had called to him, the map had guided him, and now the universe had given him a task to complete. But was it really his destiny, or was it just the weight of responsibility that had driven him? Elias felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. Had he been running from something all along? Was he afraid of failing? Afraid of letting down his grandfather? The truth felt elusive, slipping through his fingers like the very stardust he had walked upon. "You are not alone in this journey," the guardian said softly, sensing his turmoil. "The universe will always offer its guidance, but the choice is yours. Do you follow the stars because they give you direction, or do you follow your heart because it knows the way?" The cavern fell silent once more, and Elias stood still, his gaze fixed on the figure before him. The moon above him shone brighter than ever, its light reflecting off the walls of the cavern like 1,000 mirrors. For a long moment, he simply breathed, allowing the weight of the question to settle into his mind. Finally, Elias spoke, his voice quiet but resolute. I want to believe that I am following my heart. That I am not just walking this path because it's what's expected of me. But I'm afraid. Afraid that I might fail, that I might never reach the celestial core, and that everything I've learned, everything I've believed, was for nothing. The guardian smiled softly. That fear is the very thing that makes you human, Elias. It is the shadow to your light. But it is also the reason you can restore balance to the universe. The celestial core is not simply a place to be reached, it is a reflection of your inner truth. When you understand your heart, when you accept both your light and your shadow, you will be ready to awaken the core. With those words, the figure of the guardian began to fade, her form dissolving into the moonlight. But before she vanished completely, she left Elias with one final thought. Remember, the greatest discoveries are found within. And once you find your true self, the universe will follow. As the guardian disappeared, Elias stood alone in the moonlit cavern, the light of the moon casting long shadows on the cavern's floor. He had faced his inner turmoil, acknowledged the fear that had been hidden deep within him. And though the path ahead was still uncertain, he now understood one thing clearly: the journey to restore the celestial core was not just about saving the universe, but about saving himself. With renewed determination, Elias turned and walked deeper into the cavern, the echoes of the past and the future guiding him forward. The moonlit cavern had left Elias with a sense of quiet resolve, but as he emerged from its depths, the vastness of the cosmos lay before him once more. Nova's voice, soft as a whisper, reached him in the stillness of the air. You are ready now, Elias. Beyond the caverns, the cosmic spirits await. It is time for you to witness the dance. Elias paused for a moment, looking up at the heavens above him. The stars seemed brighter than ever, more alive, and he felt the weight of their presence pressing down on him. He could sense the subtle hum of energy, as though the very fabric of the universe was vibrating in unison, preparing for something magnificent. Without another word, he began to move forward, his footsteps guided by the familiar pull of destiny that had carried him this far. He had learned to trust it, as it had never led him astray. The journey was long, winding through fields of stardust and over celestial winds that swept across the heavens, but it wasn't long before Elias found himself standing at the edge of a great expanse, a vast plain made of shimmering light. It stretched out as far as the eye could see, the ground beneath his feet soft as clouds, yet firm as stone. This was the place Nova had spoken of, the place where the cosmic spirits danced. Elias stepped forward, his heart beating faster, his mind filled with wonder. The air was thick with energy, a palpable force that crackled around him. And then, from the corners of the expanse, they began to appear. First, there was a flicker, as though the very stars themselves were coming to life. And then, they manifested, spirits, ethereal beings formed from starlight and cosmic dust. They moved with grace, fluid and elegant, as if the very fabric of space and time bent and shifted in response to their movements. They were not solid beings, but ephemeral figures whose bodies glowed like faint nebulae, constantly shifting and changing form. Some were as tall as mountains, their limbs outstretched, brushing against the constellations that surrounded them. Others were smaller, delicate figures that hovered just above the ground, their movements so swift and light that they left behind trails of sparkling stardust in their wake. The spirits were dancing, weaving in and out of each other, their motions synchronized in a cosmic ballet. The music of the universe, the hum of the stars, the pulse of the galaxies seemed to play in perfect harmony with their movements, creating a soundless melody that resonated deep within Elias's soul. As Elias watched in awe, one of the spirits broke away from the others, moving toward him. Its form was more solid than the others, its body composed of swirling galaxies that spiraled around a luminous core. It had a face, though it was only partially visible, as if made from the very stars themselves. Its eyes were pools of infinite space, filled with the light of distant suns. Elias Carter, the spirit spoke, its voice a soft echo in his mind. You have come far, but your journey is not yet complete. To restore the celestial core, you must first understand the dance of the spirits. Elias felt a rush of questions flood his mind, but he remained silent, knowing the spirit would reveal what he needed to know in time. The dance of the cosmic spirits is not just a performance, the spirit continued. It is the embodiment of the balance between creation and destruction, light and dark, past and future. We are the guardians of the cosmic forces, and we exist to keep the universe in harmony. The spirit circled Elias, its movements slow and deliberate. But there is a force that threatens this balance, a force that seeks to tear the fabric of the universe apart. The celestial core is the heart of that balance. When it falters, so too does the harmony of the cosmos. You, Elias, have been chosen to restore that balance. But to do so, you must learn the dance. Elias blinked, confusion clouding his mind. The dance? He asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. How can I learn something like this? The spirit paused, its form pulsating with a gentle light. The dance is not one of steps and movements. It is a dance of understanding, a dance of connection. You must learn to move with the universe, to become one with its rhythms. Only then can you awaken the celestial core and restore harmony. The spirit extended one of its shimmering hands toward Elias, and as it did, a stream of light shot from its palm, wrapping around Elias's chest like a golden thread. The light was warm, alive with energy, and as it touched him, Elias felt his mind expand, his senses opening to the very heart of the universe. He could feel the pull of the stars, the rotation of the planets, the ebb and flow of time itself. It was as if the entire cosmos had synchronized with his heartbeat. The spirit spoke again, this time with a deeper resonance. Now, Elias, you are ready. The dance has already begun. All you must do is join it. Elias hesitated for only a moment before he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The universe stretched out before him, infinite and full of possibility, And then, without thinking, he moved. At first, it was clumsy, his steps unsure, his body awkward. But as he continued, something within him shifted. He felt the rhythm of the universe in his bones, a pattern that was as old as time itself. His movements began to flow with the cosmic energy around him, each step in sync with the dance of the spirits. He was no longer an observer, he was part of the dance, his body moving in harmony with the stars, the planets, and the very fabric of space itself. The more he danced, the more Elias understood. The balance between light and shadow, creation and destruction, it wasn't something that could be controlled or forced. It was something to be embraced, something to be felt. The universe was not just a collection of stars and planets, it was a living, breathing entity, and he was a part of it. As Elias danced, the spirits surrounded him, their movements blending with his own. They were guiding him, showing him the way, teaching him how to flow with the cosmic rhythms. The energy around him pulsed, growing stronger, until it felt as though the very core of the universe was awakening, resonating with the light of the stars. And in that moment, Elias understood. To restore the celestial core, he didn't need to wield power or force. He simply needed to embrace the dance of the universe, to become one with the flow of creation and destruction, and to trust that the rhythm of the cosmos would guide him to the heart of everything. The dance of the cosmic spirits continued, but Elias no longer felt like an outsider. He was a part of it, and through that connection, he would find the strength to restore balance, to awaken the celestial core, and to save the universe from the encroaching darkness. As the dance reached its crescendo, Elias felt the light within him grow brighter, the golden thread around his chest pulsing with energy. The spirits twirled around him, their forms becoming one with the stars themselves, and for a brief, fleeting moment, he felt the universe in all its glory. And then, as the last note of the cosmic melody played, the spirits faded into the ether, leaving Elias standing alone in the vast expanse. The stars shone brightly above him, their light now more vivid than ever, as though the universe itself had been reborn. Elias stood in awe, his heart filled with a newfound understanding. He had learned the dance of the cosmic spirits, and with it, the knowledge that he was not alone in this journey. The universe itself was with him, and with that connection, he knew that the path to restoring the celestial core was within his grasp. Elias stood at the edge of the cosmic plains, the soft glow of the cosmic spirits still lingering in the air around him. The energy he had felt coursing through him during the dance of the cosmic spirits remained, a warm pulse within his chest that made him feel deeply connected to the universe. But as the last of the spirits faded into the stars, a sense of unease settled in his heart. The universe, for all its grandeur and mystery, was not yet whole. The celestial core, the heart that kept the delicate balance between light and darkness, was still fractured. And now, Elias had to confront the full weight of what that meant. Nova's voice, though distant, called out to him, cutting through the vast stillness that had fallen over the cosmic plains. It was as though she had been waiting for him to realize the significance of what he had just witnessed. Elias, she said, her voice filled with quiet urgency. You have danced with the spirits, and you have understood the rhythm of the cosmos. But there is more to your journey. The celestial core is not merely a symbol of balance. It is a living entity, and it is dying. The weight of her words hit Elias like a thunderclap, and he turned to find Nova materializing before him, her ethereal form shimmering against the backdrop of the stars. The celestial core has been fractured for centuries, its pieces scattered throughout the universe, Nova continued. The very fabric of reality itself is beginning to unravel. If you do not find the missing pieces and restore them, the universe will fall into chaos, and all that you have seen, the dance of the spirits, the stars above, will become nothing but a distant memory. Elias swallowed, the enormity of the task sinking in. He had come this far, but the journey ahead now felt impossibly vast. What must I do? Elias asked, his voice steady despite the rising storm within him. How do I find the missing pieces of the celestial core? Nova gestured to the sky, her hand tracing a constellation that flickered in and out of view, a pattern that seemed both familiar and foreign at once. Look there, Elias, she said softly. The shattered constellation. It was once whole, a guiding beacon in the night sky. But now it is broken, its stars scattered across the cosmos, each piece lost to the winds of time. One of the fragments holds the key to restoring the celestial core. But finding it will not be easy. Elias's eyes narrowed as he followed Nova's gaze. The constellation she pointed to seemed to shimmer and pulse, a collection of stars that looked like jagged pieces of a shattered mirror, each one flickering with a faint, fragile light. He had seen it before, but had never understood its true significance. How do I find it? Elias asked. How do I piece together the shattered constellation? Nova's expression softened, her eyes filled with the weight of the knowledge she was about to impart. You must first seek the star that holds the brightest light. It is the heart of the shattered constellation, and it is the piece that can heal the rest. But to reach it, you must travel to the void, the place where light is swallowed by darkness. Elias's heart skipped a beat. The void. A place of mystery and danger, where even the brightest stars vanished into oblivion. I will go, Elias said firmly, though he couldn't suppress the flutter of fear in his chest. He had already ventured far beyond his understanding of the universe, but this was something new. The void was unlike any place he had encountered before. Nova nodded, a flicker of approval in her eyes. You will need the light within you, Elias. The courage to face the darkness and the strength to pull yourself through it. The shattered constellation is not a riddle that can be solved with intellect alone. It is a trial of the heart. You must believe, even when all you see is darkness. With those words, the space around them began to shift, the starlit plains fading into the depths of blackness. Elias blinked, trying to adjust his vision, but it was as if the stars themselves had been extinguished. leaving only an empty expanse of night. A swirling wind began to pick up, howling around Elias as he stood on the precipice of the void. He could feel the weight of the darkness pressing in, the air thick with an oppressive silence. His heartbeat echoed in his chest as he took a tentative step forward. "Trust yourself, Elias," Nova's voice echoed, now distant as if it had become one with the wind. "The darkness will not consume you if you hold fast to the light." And so, Elias stepped forward into the void. The first step was the hardest. His surroundings were now completely black, the stars gone, the constellations erased from his view. Only a faint, cold mist swirled at his feet, wrapping around his legs like tendrils. He could hear nothing but his own breath, nothing but the pounding of his heart. "Focus," he whispered to himself. "Focus on the light." The pulse within his chest, the warmth of the golden thread the cosmic spirits had given him, was still there, a steady rhythm beneath his skin. He closed his eyes and concentrated, letting that light fill him, letting it spread through his body like a fire in the darkness. A faint glow began to appear before him, growing stronger with every step he took. It was distant at first, just a flicker on the edge of his vision, but as he moved forward, it began to grow clearer, more defined. At first, it looked like a single, glowing star, brilliant, powerful. But as Elias approached, he saw it for what it truly was, a fragment of the shattered constellation, floating in the emptiness like a shard of the universe itself. It pulsed with a bright, almost blinding light, and Elias knew with certainty that this was the piece he had been seeking. But as he reached out to touch it, the light flickered, dimming for a moment. Elias hesitated, wondering if it was a trick, if this was yet another test of his resolve. And then, with a surge of willpower, he reached forward, allowing his fingers to graze the shard. In an instant, the light flared brighter than ever before, the void around him shattering like glass. The stars returned in an explosion of brilliance, the constellations were forming in a dazzling display. And there, at the heart of it all, was the shattered constellation, whole once more. Elias could feel the pulse of the universe, steady and strong, as the piece he had found nestled itself into place. He had restored a part of the balance, and the celestial core was now one step closer to healing. But the journey was far from over. The shattered constellation had been pieced together, but the heart of the universe still lay fractured. And Elias knew that, even as he stood in the glow of the stars, the darkness was still out there, waiting. Elias stood beneath the shimmering, reformed shattered constellation, the stars twinkling brightly as if congratulating him for his success. The void had retreated, leaving only the soft, ethereal glow of the universe around him. The piece of the celestial core he had found, the shard that once seemed so distant, was now firmly in place, filling him with a sense of accomplishment. Yet, despite the harmony he had restored to the stars, Elias knew deep in his heart that the true challenge still lay ahead. Nova's voice, though faint, echoed in the silence, a gentle reminder of what he had yet to face. "Elias, you have done well, but there is still one piece of the puzzle that remains. One final key is needed to restore the celestial core in its entirety. Elias turned to see Nova's shimmering figure materialize once more, her presence radiant against the backdrop of the night sky. She looked at him with a mix of pride and concern. "You've gathered the fragments, but the key to unlocking the celestial core cannot be found in the stars or the constellations. It lies within you," Nova continued, her voice gentle yet firm. "It is not an object, but a truth, a realization that will allow you to reach the heart of the universe and restore its balance." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. The journey had already tested his strength, his courage, and his belief. But now, he faced something entirely different, a trial of the heart and mind, one that demanded a deeper understanding of himself and the cosmos. The final key, it seemed, would not be found in the stars or in the vast reaches of space. It was something far more intimate. "What must I do?" Elias asked, his voice trembling slightly despite his resolve. "How do I find this key within myself?" Nova's gaze softened, her eyes filled with compassion. "The answer lies in the very essence of your journey, Elias. You've seen the stars, the constellations, and the realms beyond dreams. You've traveled through the void, faced trials, and encountered the ancient forces that govern the cosmos. But the key to restoring the celestial core is to understand that dreams and reality are not separate, they are one and the same. Only when you fully embrace this truth will you be able to awaken the final peace." Elias furrowed his brow, trying to grasp her words. Dreams and reality. He had seen both, the vast, endless space of the cosmos and the quiet solitude of his observatory on Earth. They were two worlds, so distant from each other, yet somehow intertwined. Nova stepped closer, her presence warm and comforting. "Think, Elias. What you have learned on this journey is not just about the universe or the stars, it's about your own capacity to shape the world around you. The celestial core is not just the heart of the universe. It is the heart of your dreams, your belief, and your will. You have the power to shape the cosmos because you understand that everything is interconnected." Elias closed his eyes, letting Nova's words wash over him. He thought back to the beginning of his journey, when he had first looked at the stars and felt that unexplainable yearning within himself. He had always believed in the magic of the universe, but now, he realized it was more than belief. It was trust. Trust in himself, in the power of his dreams, and in the interconnectedness of all things. His thoughts turned to his grandfather, whose celestial map had led him to this very path. Elias had always felt that his grandfather's journey had been incomplete, that the task his grandfather had set out to do had been beyond his reach. But Elias now understood, his grandfather's journey had been part of his own. The same yearning that had pulled his grandfather to the stars had now pulled Elias. The realization was profound, yet simple. The final key was not something he needed to find, but something he needed to unlock within himself. The power of his belief, the strength of his heart, and the trust he had in the universe itself. Opening his eyes, Elias looked at Nova, his expression clear and resolute. "I understand now. The key is not a thing to be found, it is the belief that I can restore the balance. The power to shape the universe, to heal the celestial core, lies within my heart." Nova smiled, her eyes gleaming with pride. "Yes, Elias. You have already traveled far beyond what most could even dream. You have learned that the universe is not a distant, cold expanse. It is alive, it is interconnected, and it is waiting for you to awaken its heart. Now, go, and let your belief guide you to the final piece." With a deep breath, Elias turned toward the center of the cosmic plains, where the faint glow of the celestial core still pulsed in the distance. It was a soft, steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of the universe itself. He could feel the light of his own soul merging with the light of the stars, a glowing thread that connected them all. Taking one final step, Elias reached out toward the celestial core, his hand trembling as it hovered over the pulsating light. He focused, closing his eyes once again, and felt the light within him surge outward, extending into the universe. In that moment, the final key clicked into place. A blinding light erupted from the core, flooding the cosmos with warmth and energy. The stars around Elias shone brighter than ever before, and the constellations formed new patterns, their lines flowing seamlessly into one another. The celestial core was whole once more. Elias felt the universe hum in harmony, its rhythm steady and powerful. And as the light slowly dimmed, he opened his eyes to find the entire sky ablaze with brilliant, swirling colors. The balance had been restored. Nova appeared before him, her figure now glowing with the light of 1,000 stars. "You have done it, Elias," she said softly. "The celestial core is whole again, and the universe is in harmony. You have unlocked the final key, the power of your belief, your dreams, and your heart." Elias smiled, his heart swelling with a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led him to this moment, the moment when he realized that the power to shape the universe was not outside of him, but within him all along. And as the stars twinkled above, Elias knew that his journey was far from over. The universe was vast, and there were still many mysteries to uncover. But now, with the celestial core restored and the final key unlocked, Elias was ready to continue his journey, wherever the stars might take him next. Elias stood at the edge of the cosmic plane, the newly restored celestial core glowing softly in the distance, its energy radiating through the vast expanse of the universe. The stars around him seemed to hum with a new harmony, their light steady and vibrant, like a symphony of cosmic notes woven together. But even as the universe sang its song of balance and unity, Elias knew that there was one final step to complete, the bridge between worlds. His heart, still brimming with the power of the celestial core, pulsed with anticipation. Nova had guided him every step of the way, and now, with her voice echoing softly in his mind, she spoke once more. "Elias, you have done what few could even dream. But the final trial awaits. To restore true balance, you must awaken the celestial heart. You must cross the bridge between worlds. Elias looked up into the vast, starry sky. He could see it now, a shimmering archway formed from starlight, floating above the horizon, like a bridge made from the very fabric of the cosmos. It arched through space, stretching from the world of dreams to the realm of reality, connecting two realms that had long been kept apart. Beyond the arch, he could see faint silhouettes, forms that flickered between one world and the other, as though they were neither fully in the land of dreams nor fully in the waking world. The bridge between worlds. Nova, Elias whispered, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. What lies beyond the bridge? What is the celestial heart? Nova's voice came to him, calm and reassuring. The celestial heart is the source of all creation, Elias. It is the nexus where all realities merge, where dreams and waking life come together. It is the ultimate point of unity, the place where all truths are revealed. But to cross the bridge between worlds, you must let go of your doubts. You must embrace the full potential of your heart, your soul, and your dreams. Elias took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the shimmering archway. He had crossed many thresholds already, each more challenging than the last, and each time, he had grown stronger. But this trial, this final crossing, felt different. It wasn't just about navigating the stars or understanding the balance of the cosmos. This time, the journey would take him inward, into the very depths of his soul. He stepped forward. As his foot touched the first step of the bridge between worlds, the stars above flickered and swirled around him, their light intensifying as if urging him onward. The bridge seemed to respond to his presence, shifting and pulsing, as though it were alive. The space around him began to warp, folding between the two realms. One moment, he was surrounded by the shimmering stars, and the next, he found himself in a place of soft, silken light, a world between dreams and waking. It was a place without time, a realm where the past, present, and future intertwined like strands of light. He could feel the pull of both the physical world and the dream world, as if they were both part of him now, coexisting in a single, unified space. His steps carried him deeper into the bridge, and the further he went, the more he could hear the whispers of countless voices, ancient, wise, and full of longing. Elias. The voice, soft yet powerful, seemed to come from all around him. It was a voice that had been with him from the very beginning, a voice that spoke of the stars, the maps, the path that had led him to this moment. It was the voice of his grandfather. Elias, you have come far. But the true journey begins here. He looked around, his heart racing. The voice was not just in the air, it was inside him, resonating deep within his core. It was the voice of his dreams, his legacy, and his belief. He closed his eyes and let the words wash over him, a sense of peace settling over him like a blanket. The world shifted again, and Elias found himself standing at the center of the bridge. Before him stood the celestial heart, its form shimmering with radiant light. It was not an object, but a presence, an all-encompassing energy that pulsed with life, the heartbeat of the entire universe. The bridge had brought him here, to the very heart of existence. But something was wrong. As Elias stepped closer, the light of the celestial heart flickered, growing dim. He could feel the balance begin to waver, the universe's heartbeat growing weaker. The heart was calling to him, but there was something he had to do, something only he could do. The bridge began to tremble beneath his feet, and the light around him started to fade. Elias knew that if he didn't act, the heart would shatter, and with it, the fragile balance between the realms would collapse. In that moment, Elias understood. The celestial heart was not just the heart of the universe, it was the heart of every dream, every desire, and every truth ever formed. It was not separate from him. It was him. He closed his eyes, reaching deep within his soul. He gathered all his belief, all his dreams, and all the courage he had accumulated throughout his journey. He focused on the truth he had learned. Dreams and reality were not separate, they were one. The bridge between them was built on the foundation of his own heart. With a final, decisive step, Elias reached out to the celestial heart. The moment his hand touched the light, a surge of energy flooded through him, and the bridge beneath his feet erupted with brilliant light. The balance shifted once more, the universes aligning as the power of the celestial heart surged into every corner of existence. Time, space, dreams, and reality all flowed into harmony. The celestial heart pulsed once more, its glow brighter than ever. The bridge between worlds had been restored. Elias stood at the center of it all, his heart filled with a deep, peaceful knowing. The universe was whole again. The balance had been restored. And, at last, Elias had crossed the bridge between worlds. Elias stood in the heart of the universe, the celestial heart before him, its light pulsing with an energy that seemed to resonate with every fiber of his being. He could feel it, this was the core of everything, dreams, life, the stars, and the unseen forces that bound it all together. As he looked into the bright, ethereal glow of the heart, he knew what he had to do. The bridge between worlds had been restored. The universe had been set into motion again. But something more was needed, something deeper. The celestial heart could not be awakened simply by his will alone. It required the fullness of his soul, the courage to believe in something beyond the tangible, beyond the known. Elias took a deep breath, his chest swelling with a mixture of awe and responsibility. Nova's voice echoed in his mind, a soft reminder of the final task that lay before him. Elias, the heart is not just an object to be awakened. It is a living, breathing entity. It is the pulse of all existence. You must not just restore it, you must connect with it. Only through the connection of your soul to the celestial heart will you restore the balance for good. His heart quickened as he understood the depth of the task ahead. It wasn't about commanding the heart or simply activating it, It was about unity, about becoming one with the universe itself. It was the culmination of everything he had learned, the interconnectedness of dreams, reality, and the ethereal forces that governed them. He stepped forward, the glowing light of the celestial heart intensifying with every step. His fingers brushed against its surface, and as soon as he made contact, a surge of warmth spread through his hand, climbing up his arm, and flooding into his chest. His body trembled as the energy coursed through him, connecting him to the very essence of creation. For a brief moment, time seemed to stretch and fold, as though everything around him stood still. Elias closed his eyes, allowing the energy to flow through him. His breath slowed, and his mind cleared. He saw flashes of images, visions of ancient worlds, of stars being born, of dreams taking shape in the minds of those who dared to believe. He saw his grandfather's face, older but filled with pride, a gentle smile curving his lips as he gazed into the distance. It was a moment of perfect clarity. The realization washed over Elias like a wave. This was not just his journey, it was the journey of all who dared to dream, to believe, and to seek. The celestial heart was not just a cosmic force, it was a reflection of the heart of every dreamer, every creator, every soul that had ever reached for something beyond themselves. The heart pulsed in rhythm with his own. He could feel it, a connection so deep that it was impossible to distinguish where he ended and the universe began. In that instant, Elias knew that he was no longer just a traveler, a seeker of truths. He was part of something much larger. He was part of the dream, part of the fabric of existence itself. Suddenly, the universe seemed to awaken with him. The stars flickered with newfound brilliance, and the dark spaces between them seemed to fill with life and color. A gentle breeze of starlight danced around him, as if the very air was alive with joy. He felt an overwhelming sense of peace and belonging, as though every part of him had been woven into the grand design of the cosmos. Elias. Nova's voice echoed once again, now full of warmth and reverence. You have done it. The celestial heart is awake, and with it, the balance has been restored. You have bridged the realms of dreams and reality, and in doing so, you have ensured that both can coexist in harmony. Elias opened his eyes, the bright light of the celestial heart now filling the space around him. He could hear the soft murmur of the universe, the whispers of 1,000 lives and dreams echoing in the air. It was a sound unlike anything he had ever heard before, a harmonious melody that seemed to rise and fall in time with his own heartbeat. And then, the universe spoke. Thank you, Elias Carter. You are the dreamer, the seeker, the heart of the universe. In you, we are one. The words resonated deeply within him, and Elias felt a profound peace settle over him, as if the weight of the world, of all worlds, had been lifted from his shoulders. He no longer needed to understand everything, for he had become part of the understanding. He no longer needed to search for answers, for he had become the answer. With a final, soft breath, Elias stepped back, letting go of the celestial heart. Its light remained steady, but the intensity had softened, as if it were now at peace. The stars above him shone even brighter, no longer distant and cold, but welcoming, like old friends beckoning him home. "Thank you," Elias whispered, his voice barely audible, but filled with the fullness of his gratitude. "Thank you for showing me the way." He turned away from the heart, feeling the coolness of the cosmic winds against his skin. The journey had reached its end, but in his heart, he knew it was not the end at all. For even as the balance had been restored, new dreams would form, new paths would emerge, and the journey would continue, for those who dared to dream. With one last glance at the shimmering expanse of the universe, Elias began his journey back. The celestial heart had been awakened, and with it, the promise of endless possibilities stretched out before him. The universe was whole again. And Elias Carter, the stargazer, had found his place within it. Elias felt the universe slowly release its grip on him, like a lover gently loosening their embrace. The celestial energy that had once surrounded him began to dissipate, and the overwhelming sense of unity with the cosmos began to fade into the background. His feet touched solid ground once again, the familiar, warm wood of his observatory floor. The cool breeze of the night air brushed against his skin, and the soft sounds of the world outside greeted him like an old friend. He opened his eyes, but the stars were still there, shining brightly above him, twinkling as if in secret conversation. His observatory was the same, nestled quietly on the outskirts of Evermere. Yet, everything felt different. The world around him was unchanged, but he had changed. Elias took a slow, steady breath and closed his eyes again, as if willing himself to hold on to the peace that had settled deep within his heart. The starlight outside his window was now brighter, warmer, more welcoming. The weight of the journey, the trials, the celestial encounters, and the restoration of the heart, they all felt distant now, like a dream slipping away as morning light approaches. But it wasn't just a dream. It was his reality. The stars above twinkled more brightly than before, no longer distant or cold. They seemed to hum with life and vibrancy, as if aware of his presence. The feeling of being part of something far greater than himself, something eternal, still lingered within him. His connection to the celestial heart, to the universe itself, would never truly fade. Even in this quiet, earthly space, he could feel the universe whispering to him, reminding him of the harmony between dreams and reality, light and shadow, time and eternity. Elias stepped outside, his bare feet pressing into the soft grass of the observatory grounds. The night sky stretched endlessly before him, bathed in the warm glow of the stars. The moon hung low, casting its pale light over the landscape, while the constellations danced in their timeless patterns. Everything felt right. The world was whole again. A soft voice reached him from behind, and Elias turned to see Nova standing at the edge of the garden. She looked as ethereal as ever, her form glowing faintly in the moonlight, her eyes filled with ancient wisdom and kindness. She smiled, and Elias felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over him. "You have done it, Elias," Nova said, her voice as soft as the starlight. The celestial heart is whole, and with it, the universe hums in perfect harmony once more. The path you've walked, the trials you've faced, and the lessons you've learned have made you part of something far greater. And now, your journey here is complete. Elias nodded, the weight of the words sinking deep into his heart. But what happens now? Is it truly over? Nova's smile deepened, her eyes glistening like the stars themselves. The journey never truly ends, Elias. It only transforms. You have awakened the celestial heart, and in doing so, you've become a part of the dream that binds us all. The universe will continue to move, and dreams will continue to be woven. But now, you have found your place within it. Elias's heart swelled with emotion. It had been a long road, full of mysteries, wonders, and challenges. Yet, here he was standing at the threshold of a new beginning. His grandfather's legacy, the celestial journey, and the restoration of balance had all led him to this very moment. The universe had a way of guiding its dreamers, its seekers. And now, Elias had found his place, his role in the ever-unfolding story. As he gazed up at the night sky, Elias realized that his journey had not been just about restoring the universe, it had been about understanding his own place within it. The stars above were not distant and unreachable. They were part of him, just as he was part of them. He was a stargazer, a dreamer, a part of the cosmic dance. With a deep breath, Elias turned back to Nova, who had been silently watching him. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice thick with gratitude. "For everything. I never could have done it without you." Nova inclined her head gracefully. "You were always meant for this journey, Elias. The stars have always been watching over you." A soft breeze rustled the trees nearby, and the sound of distant birds chirping filled the night. It was as if the world itself was celebrating the completion of his journey, as if the universe was exhaling in relief. Elias smiled, a contented smile that reached all the way to his soul. "I understand now," he said, his voice steady and sure. "Dreams aren't just things we chase. They're the foundation of everything. They're what bind us, what shape our world. And we must never stop believing in them." Nova's gaze softened, and she nodded. "Exactly. The universe lives and breathes through those who dare to dream. You have learned the greatest truth, Elias. Now, go forward. Live your life, and remember that the stars are never truly far away." With one last lingering glance at the night sky, Elias stepped back toward his observatory, the light of the stars shining bright in his heart. The path ahead was unknown, but for the first time in his life, Elias wasn't afraid. He understood now that he was part of something far bigger, something eternal, something alive. And as he stood beneath the starlight, he realized that the journey beyond dreams was not over. It had only just begun. With that, Elias Carter smiled and stepped forward, his heart full of wonder, his spirit at peace, and his eyes fixed firmly on the stars above.